Season 8 opens in a world that feels quiet, but it's the kind of quiet that comes right before everything breaks. The air is heavy with things left unsaid, with futures already written but not yet lived. For Claire and Jamie, life has never been simple, but now the weight of time presses harder than ever. They have survived battles, separation, fire, and blood. Yet this season reminds us of one truth Outlander has always whispered: survival does not mean safety. The world around them is changing fast. War is no longer a distant threat. It is closing in from every direction. Homes that once felt strong now feel fragile. Promises that once felt unbreakable are tested by fear, duty, and loss. Season 8 does not rush into chaos. Instead, it lets us sit in the stillness, forcing us to feel the tension building underneath every moment. Each look between characters, each pause in conversation carries meaning. This is a season where silence speaks loudly. Claire stands at a dangerous crossroads. Her knowledge of the future has always been both a gift and a curse, but now it feels heavier than ever. Knowing what is coming does not make it easier to live through it. In fact, it makes every step more painful. Every decision she makes could save a life or destroy one. And this time, there may be no way to walk away without losing something precious. Jamie, too, feels the shift. He has always been a man of action, honor, and loyalty. But Season 8 challenges him in ways no battle ever could. Leadership now comes with impossible choices. Protecting his family may mean standing against the very world he helped build. The strength that once guided him is now tested by doubt, sacrifice, and the fear of what legacy truly means. What makes this season different is its tone. It doesn't promise comfort. It doesn't offer easy hope. Instead, it asks a harder question. When time takes everything, what do you hold on to? Season 8 slows down to let that question sink in. It invites us to feel the weight of years lived, love earned, and losses that never fully heal. This is not the end yet, but it is the moment where every path narrows. The storm is coming. Season 8 begins by reminding us that sometimes the most powerful moments happen just before the first strike falls. For years, time was something Claire could understand, even if she could never control it. It moved her forward and backward, separated her from the people she loved, and then brought her back again. But now, time feels different. It no longer offers second chances. It no longer bends. It only moves forward straight toward consequences that cannot be undone. Season 8 shows a world where the past has caught up with everyone. Choices made long ago, words spoken in anger or love, and paths taken without knowing the cost are now standing front and center. There is no running anymore. Time has stopped being a doorway and has become a mirror. Every character is forced to look at who they are and what they have become. Claire feels this more deeply than anyone. Her knowledge of the future once gave her a sense of control. She could warn, heal, and prepare. But now that knowledge weighs on her like a burden she can barely carry. Knowing what is coming does not stop it from hurting. In fact, it makes the waiting worse. Every day becomes a quiet battle between hope and fear. She knows that some events cannot be changed, no matter how hard she tries, and living with that truth is slowly tearing her apart. This season shows Claire struggling not just with the world around her, but with herself. She questions her choices. She wonders if love was worth the pain it brought. She asks herself whether saving one life only leads to losing another. Time has placed her in a cruel position where doing nothing feels just as dangerous as doing something. Jamie, on the other hand, faces time in a different way. He does not see the future, but he feels its pressure. He knows the world he lives in is breaking apart. The land he fought for, the people he swore to protect, and the life he built with his own hands are all at risk. Time has turned him from a warrior into a man who must think about tomorrow. Even when tomorrow feels uncertain, Season 8 explores Jamie's fear in a quiet but powerful way. Not fear of death, but fear of failure. Fear that he won't be able to protect his family this time. Fear that love alone may not be enough. The strength that once defined him is now mixed with doubt, and that makes him more human than ever. Around them, the world refuses to slow down. War moves forward with no care for personal loss. History marches on, crushing anyone who stands in its way. Season 8 reminds us that time does not wait for healing. It does not pause for grief. People must either move with it or be left behind. What makes this season so intense is how personal time becomes. Every moment feels smaller but heavier. A goodbye feels final. A touch feels rare. A smile feels fragile. The story does not rely on big speeches to show this sit lives in the quiet moments. A look held too long. A word left unsaid. A choice delayed just enough to change everything. Season 8 tells us that time is no longer a gift, is a test. A test of love, faith, and endurance. And the hardest part is knowing that no matter how much you love someone, time may still demand a price. This is the season where time stops being kind and starts asking for answers. For Claire and Jamie, love has carried them through time, distance, loss, and pain. It has survived years apart in worlds that tried to tear them down. But Season 8 asks a painful question. What happens when love has already given everything it has? When there is nothing left to sacrifice except the people you love most? This season does not show love as simple or comforting. Instead, it shows love under pressure. Every moment between Claire and Jamie feels heavier because they both know what is at stake. They are no longer young. They are no longer chasing a future filled with endless possibilities. They are standing at a point where every decision feels final. Claire loves Jamie with a depth shaped by time itself. She has loved him across centuries, across lives she was forced to live without him. But now love brings fear instead of comfort. Fear of losing him. Fear of surviving him. Fear of knowing that even love cannot stop what history has already decided. Season 8 shows Claire struggling with the idea that loving someone does not always mean saving them. Jamie's love is just as strong, but it carries a different weight. He loves Claire not just as his wife, but as his anchor to meaning. She is his home in a world that no longer feels stable. But loving Claire also means accepting danger, change, and loss. Jamie knows that loving her means standing beside her, no matter the cost, if that cost is everything he has left. What makes Season 8 powerful is how love becomes quiet. It's no longer about grand promises or dramatic words. It's about staying when leaving would be easier. It's about holding on when letting go might hurt less. Love lives in shared silence, in tired smiles, and in the understanding that time may not allow them another chance. This season also explores how love can conflict with duty. Claire and Jamie are pulled in different directions by the people who depend on them. Family, community, and history all demand something from them. And sometimes, those demands clash with what love wants. Season 8 does not pretend there are easy answers. Instead, it shows how love often requires choosing the lesser pain, the absence of pain beyond Claire and Jamie. Season 8 reflects how love shapes everyone's choices. Love for family. Love for freedom. Love for a future that may never come. Some characters hold on to love as their last hope. Others are forced to question whether love has led them down the wrong path. In this season, love is both the reason people fight and the reason they break. There is also a growing sense of loss surrounding love. The story reminds us that love does not protect people from grief. In fact, it often makes grief deeper. Season 8 does not rush past this truth. It allows space for sorrow, regret, and the quiet understanding that loving deeply means hurting deeply too. What stands out most is how love becomes a choice rather than a feeling. It is not always warm. It is not always comforting. Sometimes it is painful, exhausting, and frightening. But Claire and Jamie continued to choose it anyway. Not because it promises happiness, but because it gives meaning to everything else. Season 8 shows love at its most honest. Stripped of illusion, tested by time, scarred by loss, yet still standing. And in a world ruled by war and fate, that kind of love may be the bravest thing of all. This is not a season that asks whether love can survive. It asks whether love can endure, knowing that survival may come with a cost too high to bear. War has always lived in the background of Outlander. like a shadow waiting for the right moment to step forward. In Season 8, that shadow finally takes shape. This is no longer a warning or a distant threat. War is present in every breath, every decision, every silence. What makes Season 8 different is how close the danger feels. War is no longer something discussed in councils or planned on maps. It has moved into homes, into families, into hearts. There is no clear line between safety and danger anymore. Even moments of peace feel temporary, as if the world is holding its breath before breaking apart again. Jamie understands war better than most. He has fought battles, led men, and survived violence that would have destroyed others. But Season 8 shows a different kind of war, one where the enemy is not always visible. This war demands loyalty while offering no protection. It forces men to choose sides even when neither side feels right. Jamie is no longer fighting just to win. He is fighting to limit loss, knowing that victory may still feel like defeat. Leadership becomes a heavy burden this season. Jamie carries the weight of lives that depend on him, knowing that every order he gives could cost someone their future. The confidence that once defined him is now mixed with caution. He has learned that courage without care can be deadly. Season 8 allows us to see the toll this takes on him, not through loud moments, but through exhaustion, hesitation, and quiet resolve. For Claire, war brings a different kind of fear. She does not fight with weapons, but she is surrounded by pain all the same. Bodies arrive broken. Lives hang in the balance. And she knows that some wounds cannot be healed, no matter how skilled her hands are. This season shows Claire facing the limits of what she can do. Her strength is tested not by action, but by helplessness. What makes war in Season 8 so powerful is how personal it becomes. Every loss has a face. Every death has a story. The show does not treat war as spectacle, it treats it as consequence. It reminds us that history is not just made by leaders and soldiers, but by ordinary people forced into impossible situations. The land itself feels different this season. Places that once represented hope now feel fragile. Fields that once promised growth now carry fear. The environment reflects the emotional state of the characters, uncertain, tense, and ready to shatter. Season 8 uses this shift to show how war changes not just people, the world around them. There is also a strong sense that war does not care about love. It does not pause for relationships or families. It moves forward without mercy. Claire and Jamie understand this better than anyone. Their love exists inside the chaos, not outside of it. Season 8 makes it clear that staying together does not mean staying safe. What's most haunting is how war steals the future. Characters are no longer planning years ahead. They are planning days, sometimes hours. Hope becomes smaller, but more precious. A shared meal, a quiet night, a promise to return. These small moments take on huge meaning because nothing is guaranteed. Season 8 also shows the emotional cost of surviving war. Living through it does not mean escaping it. Memories linger. Guilt remains. The question of what if never truly disappears. This season allows space for those feelings, reminding us that survival often comes with invisible scars. War in Season 8 is not just about fighting, it's about endurance. About holding on to humanity when everything pushes you toward numbness. About choosing compassion in a world that rewards cruelty. And about accepting that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is keep going when stopping would be easier. This is the season where war stops being part of the story and becomes the force that shapes everything. For a long time, fate in Outlander felt like something distant, something that could be delayed, avoided or reshaped with the right choice at the right moment. Season 8 changes that feeling completely. Fate is no longer waiting at the end of the road. It is already here, walking beside every character, quietly guiding them toward moments they may not be ready to face. This season makes it clear that fate is not loud. It does not announce itself. It moves silently through small choices in ordinary days. A single decision made out of fear. A moment of hesitation. A promise kept or broken. Season 8 shows how these small moments slowly tighten into something that can no longer be undone. Claire has always lived with the knowledge of fate more than anyone else. She knows how history unfolds. She knows which events are fixed and which might bend. But in Season 8, that knowledge becomes heavier than ever. The future she remembers is no longer far away, it is closing in. And the closer it gets, the harder it becomes to tell whether knowing the outcome is a gift or a curse. This season explores the painful truth that even when you know what is coming, you cannot always stop it. Claire is forced to accept that fate does not respond to hope alone. There are moments where she must choose between interfering and letting events take their course, and neither option feels right. Acting could change lives in dangerous ways. Doing nothing could feel like betrayal. Season 8 places her in that space again and again. Showing how fate wears her down over time, Jamie experiences fate differently. He does not know the future, but he senses its pull. He feels the weight of events moving beyond his control. Battles are decided by forces larger than any one man. Alliances shift. Loyalties break. Season 8 shows Jamie learning that strength alone cannot change everything. Sometimes, fate demands acceptance instead of resistance. What makes this season powerful is how fate affects relationships. Claire and Jamie both feel the pressure of time running out, even if they understand it in different ways. Their conversations carry an unspoken awareness that certain moments may never come again. Every goodbye feels heavier. Every reunion feels fragile. Fate turns love into something urgent, something that must be lived fully because there may not be another chance. Season 8 also reminds us that fate does not strike evenly. Some characters are forced to face it head-on, while others are caught by surprise. There is no fairness in how it unfolds. Good intentions do not guarantee good outcomes. This season does not try to soften that truth. Instead, it allows the discomfort to exist. Making the story feel more honest and human, there is a growing sense that fate is narrowing the path forward. Options disappear. Choices become limited. Characters who once believed they had time now realize how little of it remains. The future feels smaller, but more intense. Every action carries weight because there may be no chance to correct it later. Season 8 also challenges the idea that fate is fixed. While some events feel unavoidable, others seem shaped by courage, sacrifice, and love. The tension between what must happen and what could happen drives much of the season's emotional power. Characters are forced to decide when to fight fate hand, when to let it unfold. What stands out most is how fate strips away illusion. There is no room for denial anymore. No pretending that everything will work out simply because it always has before. Season 8 asks its characters to face reality without comfort, to stand in uncertainty without escape. In this season, fate is not portrayed as an enemy, but it is not kind either. It is simply there, constant, unmoving, and the question is no longer how to avoid it, but how to meet it with dignity, love, and courage. Season 8 shows us that fate does not end stories, it completes them. And as it closes in, every character must decide what kind of ending they are willing to accept. As Season 8 unfolds, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Left undone, will stay quiet. The past does not fade gently in Outlander. It lingers. It waits. And now, it demands to be faced. This season carries a strong feeling that unfinished stories are closing in from every direction. Old wounds that never healed properly begin to ache again. Promises made long ago return with consequences no one expected. Season 8 does not allow its characters to move forward without first looking back. What was once buried is now rising not out of anger but out of necessity. For Claire, unfinished business lives in memory. Faces she once helped. Lives she once changed. Moments where she wonders if a different choice could have led to a different outcome. Season 8 shows her carrying these questions quietly, often alone. She does not speak them aloud, but they shape how she moves through the world. Every time she helps someone, she remembers those she could not save. The past is not behind her, it walks beside her. Jamie's unfinished battles are different, but just as heavy. He has lived a life built on duty, loyalty, and sacrifice. But duty often leaves loose ends. Season 8 forces Jamie to face the cost of leadership, the people who followed him, trusted him, and suffered because of choices made in moments of urgency. Even when those choices were right, the weight of them remains. This season allows us to see how deeply that responsibility has settled into him. What makes these unresolved stories so powerful is how they affect the present. Characters are no longer reacting only to what is happening now, but to everything that led them here. Every conversation carries history. Every disagreement is shaped by years of shared experience. Season 8 uses this depth to create emotional tension that feels earned, not rushed. There is also a strong sense that closure does not always mean peace. Some answers bring relief, others bring regret. Season 8 does not promise that resolving the past will make the future easier. In many cases, it makes things more complicated. But avoiding the truth is no longer an option. The story insists that unfinished things must be acknowledged. Even if the cost is painful, relationships are especially affected by this reckoning. Bonds are tested as secrets surface, and old choices are questioned. Love remains strong, but it is no longer protected by silence. Season 8 shows how honesty can both heal and hurt. Speaking the truth may bring understanding, but it can also change how people see each other forever. This season also reminds us that not every story gets a clean ending. Some questions remain unanswered. Some goodbyes never come. Outlander has never been about perfection, and Season 8 embraces that fully. It shows that life is messy, emotional, and often incomplete. What matters is not finishing every chapter perfectly, but facing them with courage. As the world around the characters grows more unstable, the need for resolution becomes urgent. There is a feeling that time is running out, not just for the future, but for making sense of the past. Season 8 captures this urgency beauty.